Good morning. It is Friday, January 12th, 2018. And this is the sig-aws meeting, our first sig-aws meeting of 2018. I'm sure we have a lot coming this year. We are recording, so don't say anything you don't want on the record. And otherwise, we'll go straight into the agenda. I think we have a fairly light agenda, as one might expect, for the start of the year. Actually, the only item we have on it so far is one I put on, which is just to be, in case anyone has not seen the Meltdown Spectre bugs, please be aware that you do have to update, or it is highly recommended that you update your kernel at least. And there is a new version of, for example, the kops Kubernetes maintained AMI, but every distro will likely have an update, and if you haven't updated basically this year, then it's likely that you are vulnerable. I think a workaround for some of the bugs is to run on AWS on dedicated tenancy hardware, which will help, but it is not it doesn't protect you against process to process. And I think we're all still figuring out like all the implications of it. But if you haven't seen that, definitely update your kernel as soon as your vendor produces an updated kernel, an updated AMI. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything about any other mitigation strategies or things they may be aware of, but otherwise, yeah, just wanted to make double sure that everyone was aware of that one. Cool, and we have two more things now on the agenda. Thank you to whoever put those on there. I don't know if someone wants to talk through them. Was that you, Arun? Or?
I can. Yeah. So today is the last day, apparently, for KubeCon CFP. It has been running for a while, so the KubeCon CFP ends today. So if anybody is interested in co-submitting a session, I'm submitting a few sessions. I've been coordinating a few sessions within AWS. But if anybody is interested in co-submitting a session or submitting a session of yourself, make sure you do that today. Make sure, because I don't need to iterate what KubeCon is, but it is the leading event. The attendance has been growing drastically. From Berlin to Austin, it was 4x growth. The numbers are going to be unprecedented at Copenhagen. And then in Seattle this year, they don't even know. They don't know how to plan for it. So the numbers are just going crazy. So I would recommend all the good work that we have been doing. We will, of course, have the sig-aws face-to-face. I'm sure Justin will arrange that. But if you guys are interested in speaking and need any help, support in validating the abstract or running the abstract by me or by Justin, by anybody else, we're happy to help and support you guys.
Awesome. Yes, and I think I hear that they're making Amazon do a new headquarters somewhere else just to make room in Seattle for KubeCon in Seattle next year.
Well, I can kind of comment upon that. That's way above my pay grade.
But yeah, that's great. Thanks for that reminder. I'd actually forgotten about that. So that's great. Yeah, it'd be great to have a lot of AWS talks represented, and generally like a lot of the work we're doing here.
And I guess the next related point in that case is DockerCon. So even though DockerCon is not about Kubernetes, but the recent embracing of Kubernetes, like how Kubernetes can be easily configured in Docker for Mac, Docker EE. So if there is any sig-aws angles that you guys can think of that, oh, this is how I can have a EKS cluster configured in Docker for EE, for example, and how that would make sense, or a kops-based cluster, anything. Well, EKS, you can do that right now because it's not GA, but a kops-based cluster or any kind of cluster running on AWS, I think that'll be a great angle to show as well. Or migrating from a kops-based cluster, I don't know, from Minikube to a kops-based cluster using some Docker tooling. And I'm just throwing out ideas, but whatever comes to your mind, the DockerCon CFP, I think, ends Monday or Tuesday. I think 15th, I think, is the date for DockerCon. So let's make sure, we don't have too much time. Definitely for KubeCon is tonight. And DockerCon is early next week. So get those abstracts and let's have sig-aws well represented over there.
Yeah, that would be great. And it's certainly with Docker now, I haven't personally tried it, but effectively, I think they released the version now where there is Kubernetes that runs sort of almost out of the box, or an option to run Kubernetes out of the box with Docker is everyone installs on their machine. So it is certainly I think the portability angle, being able to run Kubernetes on the same manifest on your machine, and then on COPS and EKS and GKE and GCE and maybe even Azure, I think that is an interesting angle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they released the Docker for Mac Bleeding Edge, and I think 2 days back. And in that Bleeding Edge, at least you have support for Kubernetes in there. Now the Bleeding Edge becomes stable, I think every 3 months or so, and then it's going to be part of stable, and then eventually it gets into Docker EE as well.
Awesome. We have a COPS question that we'll put out of order if that's okay, because this is, technically sig-aws. So, but let's look at this next one about the bug with spot instances that someone put on there. Does whoever want to put this on yes. Yeah. I saw this bug. I don't know who put it on there, if they want to talk about it.
I think Chris did.
I don't know if Chris is going to talk about it, but anyway, it seems like, as far as I read, it looks like on a spot instance, the labels are applied asynchronously, so the instance can come up. Oh. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, the problem is there's a mute button on Zoom and a mute button on my iPhone. Very confusing. So yeah, that's it. So my question is it the responsibility of, is it sig-aws' responsibility to take care of this bug, or is it the installer's responsibility to take care of this bug? I'm leaning towards the installer, because until the instance is tagged properly, I don't think it's a good node for Kubernetes to be installed on. So I don't think we should put anything into the AWS cloud provider to wait around to see if it'll get tags or not.
Well, I think that what we did do is we did make it an error or we said we were going to make it an error to not tag with the cluster tag. So we can now wait for it in the kubelet. That's certainly something that is on the table. Like previously, it would not have been on the table because it was allowed not to tag things. But yes, if we don't solve it in the cloud provider, the problem is that we need every installer to solve it, right? So, I'm trying to think. Like Greg, I know you have Greg Taylor. I know you have an installer that is. I presume you would rather we solve this in the kubelet. Therefore, I'm just calling on you because you have a funny voice sometimes. But yeah, I guess also EKS, right? You also have a similar thing. I think we're aware of it. I think maybe we could always have a flag. I don't really want to add another flag. But yeah, I think those are options. If anyone has any views, then.
Yeah, some people could comment on the issue so we can work it out. I'm kind of leaning more towards installer because, I'm not sure if even Kubelet knows that, I guess Kubelet can do the call to get the base URL off of the AWS instance, but sometimes Kubelet doesn't even have access to that. So I'm kind of confused on how the cloud provider could even deal with this. But neither here nor there.
The problem is just that the tags aren't set, right? So it could just wait for those tags to be set, is my understanding. But which is exactly what something that came before Kubelet would also have to do. So like kubeadm, for example, would have to do it, and COPS would have to do it, and everyone that uses anything else would have to do it as well. But presumably only if they use spot instances. I suspect a lot of people would just put in a sleep 300 or something and cross their fingers.
There's a workaround in the COPS issue that's linked to that.
Is it
where they well, they're just checking if the tags exist. If they don't exist, then it goes back to sleep. So, okay. What else can you do? Wait around for AWS to tag your instance.
Yeah, I imagine it's pretty rare that imagine there's a magic like conflagration of results that have to happen. Like the image presumably has to be cached, and the Docker must be the correct version of Docker must be installed, and I don't know, all these sort of things that you have to download kubelet pretty fast, and all these things have to come together in just the right way that you win the race or lose the race or AWS loses the race to this. So
yeah, I think so. Herbert has been saying this for a while. He commented on the cops issue. So this has been around for a while. I use spot instances all the time, but my account's not busy. So I assume if you have a good amount of node churn on your account, that's when they're seeing this. I don't even know how to recreate this. So that's the other fun part.
It's also possible that it happens more often and we just see it as flakiness, for example. So it might be that, I'm trying to think of like exactly what will happen, but it may be that just weird things go wrong that we attributed to general flakiness that is not fair to attribute to flakiness is actually this issue. But anyway, yeah, okay, I think we should fix it. And thank you for bringing that one up. I will mark it as serious, I guess, or something, or no, it's pretty serious. Okay. Looking back at the agenda.
Question to the AWS folks in the call. Is there an SLA on how quickly tags will appear in your instance? I guarantee, if you guys could get back to us if there is a SLA on that, that'd be awesome.
That is actually a good point, because there is now a call to create instances with tags. I'm reasonably sure. So I don't know why it's async.
Bryce, any idea for you?
I don't know for sure anything on that. I can take a quick look and see if there's any guarantee that's made. But I don't know of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm wondering if the people that are hitting this are hitting a bug or something. You know, there's always that opportunity as well. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good one to look at. Call out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kops update. Is it possible to bring up a new bastion without interrupting that functionality? Who put that on there?
That was me, Monty here.
Okay.
And yeah, as I was looking at updating our cluster, because of Spectre, it wasn't clear to me whether the bastion, it seems like brings the node down, then it waits, and then it brings it up. And I just actually don't understand exactly how the bastion is working and whether it can be a rolling update there or not. And so I was just curious.
So So currently the Kops bastion doesn't do a lot. It is just a machine that runs the same image. It's in its own auto scaling group, and it actually doesn't run anything. And one of the things we've thought of, like, it doesn't even run kubelet. One of the things I thought in the past would be cool, to have it actually be a Kubernetes node that actually, was able to run, like, in general, like, it would be not just Kops, like it was able to run like a proxy, or was able to run OpenVPN, or was able to run nothing if you just wanted to SSH in across. But like the downside of that would be that there would be a little more attack surface area because it would be running kubelet. So it's a little different from the bastion. So as Kops implements it today, it is just a node that runs just the image and doesn't actually run anything else, but your SSH key is on there by the normal AWS mechanism. Chris, I guess you can, there's always, so given that, you can always just like scale up the auto scaling group and, tweak that sort of thing. But Chris, you wrote the rolling update here. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head how it works with the bastion.
Well, I don't quite understand the question, Monty. Can you rephrase?
Well, when I've updated with Kops before, it seems like it'll bring the bastion down before bringing a new one up. And so the question is whether that's, possible to avoid that.
You could create, can we have more than one bastion instance group? Yeah. So let me answer it this way. With the current update functionality, no. It'll bring down the bastion, bring up another one. Now it's possible to have more than one bastion if that's the problem.
Yeah. Okay. That would certainly, yeah, like Justin said, scale it up.
Yeah. And then it'll bring down each one in synchronicity, right? So it'll bring down one, then bring up one, then bring down another, then bring up another.
Right.
And they would all be attached to the same ELB.
Okay.
And definitely,
So you wouldn't necessarily lose connectivity, but you're not going to be able to guarantee when the bastion will be going up or down. So I'm not certain what you're trying to prevent. Are you trying to prevent losing all access to the cluster? Do you have something running through the bastion? Actually, why don't we do this? Why don't you ping me after the call?
Okay, sure.
On Slack.
Okay. Thanks.
So we can get in. Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
And I think, opening an issue on the COPS repo to say that, the bastion only has one instance, but there's no reason that it can't scale up to 2 first is probably a good one to do as part of the running update, and you can figure out whether it's worth it, frankly.
Yeah, I guess maybe I misunderstood. I probably confused the NAT functionality with the bastion. So now that I think of it, yeah, having the bastion down actually won't be a big deal for us. We don't use it that much.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, bastion is only for it's like a backdoor if you don't have a direct VPN connection or another mechanism into your VPC.
I see. Yeah.
For running when you run it. Sorry, for running when you have no public IPs.
Right. Yeah. Well. Okay. That's great. Okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
Cool. I don't know if there's anything else on the agenda. Or if anything else anyone wants to talk about. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, it might be a shorter meeting. I imagine everyone is busy hitting refresh on kernel.org and their AMI provider or their distros. Yeah, I think that my sense of that is that we're going to see basically weekly updates for the next couple of months. So that's going to be fun, but we'll see how bad it gets.
I do have one quick thing that maybe not so much an agenda item, but I filed a PR on the doc site, the Kubernetes docs, for annotating all the ELB annotations for classic ELBs. And I did it just before the holiday, so I think that kind of got lost in the holiday New Year stuff. I can put a link to it. I just need, whether that's AWS folks or community folks, but to just have a review on that, a technical review. Oh no, that's the wrong PR. Hold on. That was the wrong link.
One thing I guess we could ask is there anything else anyone is working on in the AWS space that they want to share or thinking about working on? Like any New Year's resolutions? Other than the EKS thing that I guess some of you are working on.
So one of the fun ideas that was coming up in a meeting, I think it'll be fun to implement, have a custom resource definition that could take a ECS task and deploy it as a Kubernetes resource. I mean, that's not AWS specific, but that's in general. It is taking an AWS technology and deploying it in a COPS cluster, for example.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun one. So if anybody is interested in working on that, we can create something like that together. And I've been reading through the CRD documentation. It's there, but sort of not there. For somebody who wants to write a CRD by itself, it's not very easy and straightforward. So I think that'll be a cool tutorial that we could write, and I would be happy to take that as a contribution on our open source blog. So if anybody is interested, I'm very happy to take that.
Cool idea. And Joe mentioned the Kube meta controller, which is I guess it's sort of a framework to give you a jump start to help build those sort of things and make it a bit easier, which is cool. And never discount like building a real API server, by the way. It's actually not that much harder than dealing with some of the CRD oddities.
Yep.
It's not easy, but it's not necessarily harder is what I've learned.
Yep. Thanks, Joe, for the link. I'll take a look at that as well.
Cool. And yeah, I see your 2 issues, Micah, so
yeah.
I'll take a look at those.
Yeah, just the second one.
Okay, 6692. Cool. Well, if there's nothing, I'm just going to double check the agenda. If there's nothing else, then everyone gets half an hour of their Fridays back. Oh, and a video. I'm going to try to copy this. I'm going to try to copy this and some of this into the links before I close everything.
Oh, that's a 1 hour, 20-minute video. That's a long video.
You got half an hour to pack, so.
Yeah, fast forward through it, speed it up. You can play it 1.5 times. But it goes in some depth there, so yeah.
Okay, I will. All right. Well, I'm gonna edit what I just pasted in, and otherwise, yeah. Everyone have a happy Friday.